Mizmor David, Adonai roi lo efsar, Binos deshe yar bitzeni yame menuchos inaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'geitz amades, lo yira ra ki ata imadi. Shivtecha v'shantecha hema yinachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorirai. V'shanta v'Hashem en roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov, v'chesed yudefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veis Adonai li'orach yamim. Call upon Shael Bellows to recite Tilamal.
Ashrei ish asher lo halach be'etz Rishayim b'derech chatayim ha'amad moshavet tzayim lo yishav ki yam b'torah Adonai chavso b'torato yigah yilam v'lala v'hayah kayetz shatu al geimayim ashrei p'riyav yatem b'itzo v'alo lo yibul v'chol asher yasa yitzliach lo ken Rishayim ki im kametz asher tidefu ruach haken lo yimku Rishayim mishpat Chatim be'adat tzadikim ki yodea l'maderech tzadikim b'derech Hashem tavod.
We are here this evening to pay kavod acharon to Rabbi Shael Bellows, the blessed memory of Shaul ben Shmuel Zichrono Livracha, beloved husband of Joan, Father Lisa, Jason Abner, Kayla and Noah, Moshe and Dai Bellows, Nina, Elizabeth, and Apple Bellows, Yoni and Allison Bellows, Emma, and Noah, Est, Sam and Rachel, Jordan, Julia, Laura, Daniela and Lauren Schreiber, and their children Raquel, Adam, Sophia, and Yael and Kenny Brickstein, Judah, Noah, Rami, and Nina. V'ha'ir Shushan, Navocha, the city of Shushan, was in a state of confusion. We'll read these words in a few nights. Alas, that confusion feels like it has come early to Skokie and Chicago. Confusion that afflicted Shushan because who will stand up in a time when it doesn't seem the right people, the people we need, the people we've relied upon all along, are not available. What will we do without our remarkable friend, teacher, supporter? Who will we run to when we need advice? Who will compliment us when no one else thinks of doing so? And who will give us the constructive pointers we need when no one else has the courage? Who is going to check in on our children, ask about how they're doing, remember all of their names? And how ironic and painful it is that we've been tasked to find the right words to say this evening when the very person who would have surely known what to have said and how to say it and the cadence and where to stop and where to start is not with us any longer to compose those words. A few days ago, I was attending a Yarchei Kala, attended by well over 100 rabbinic colleagues from all over the country. My Rebbe, Rabbi Dr. J.D. Schachter, who was very fond of Mr. Bellows. And I heard that Shael's situation was turning, and I stood up in the middle of a session and I headed out to catch a flight out. Maybe selfishly I would have a chance to wave goodbye to him. And I was grabbing my bags. An old letter from 20 years ago, out of the blue, was circulated among the rabbis as we were commemorating 20 years of gathering of Divrei Torah, of sermonic material, of chizuk, to hundreds of rabbanim and thousands of congregants by extension. The letter was a thank you letter. I don't know why this was sent at this moment, but it hit my inbox. It was addressed to Mr. Shael Bellows. Dear Mr. Bellows, now that Yom Tov is concluded, I would like to thank you very much for your sponsorship of the Spring 2004 Yarchei Kala for Rabbis at the Rabbi Joseph B. Soloveitchik Institute in Brookline. Quite simply, it is hard to overstate the impact that these sessions, including March's session under your generous visionary sponsorship, have had upon me and my rabbanos. They have affected my overall hashkafic outlook, given me specific content for sermons and materials for shiurim, and created an indispensable, lasting sense of collegiality among young modern Orthodox rabbis across the nation to benefit our communities and ourselves, altered my personality and speaking style in public and in private in innumerable positive ways, giving me confidence in my pastoral and other interactions with congregants and more. In short, the far-sighted leadership of the Institute, of its magnanimous supporters such as yourself, and the master leader, Rabbi Schachter, have been critical to my entire professional development, entire rabbinate 3 years ago. This was 20 years ago. Thousands and thousands of Jews have been impacted by that initial act of chesed. And as I stood up to head out frantically, that was the letter that hit my phone. And I thought for a moment about the significance of those words and how years later, how many people, not just with this one tzedakah, but our current institutions are no different. This shul, KCT, his home, he poured every ounce in Joan to build this beautiful shul. He loved this shul and loved davening here, especially with his kids. KJBS, Civil Torah, Ari Crown, Ida Crown, HTC, Yeshiva University, the YU Kollel, the Sam and Nina Bellows Kollel, the Bellows Eshkola Educators Institute at Matan, and on and on and on and on. How many thousands and thousands of lives were transformed for the better by this man. And the hundreds of people gathered here tonight, and those on Zoom, the countless more viewing the Levaya, and afterwards, he will be traveling to Eretz Yisrael, his beloved home, where he will rest, the place he loved the most. It's all because of one man to whom we owe an impossible debt of gratitude. The incredible and vast, innumerable chasadim in Torah, the ones who matter most of all, we will hear from in a moment. I had a moment where I realized that this impact will have a forever reverberation. I thought about the people who just see him once a year. I thought about, as a rabbi, how many mornings people come in from Eretz Yisrael looking for help, support, chizuk. Where's Mr. Bellows? Do you know if I could find him? How many years will go on before I have to say the heartbreaking, repeated message over and over again? Didn't you hear the news? Didn't you hear what happened? And now we will hear from his most treasured, of all the achievements and all the people whose lives he touched, people who he cared about, rightfully the most. And I can tell you, Joan, children and grandchildren, how proud he was of you. I know he told you, but he told us all. You were the light of his life. You were everything to him. There is an image that I will never forget, because it's a vision like Moshe was jealous of Aaron's Ketiva, standing near his children with a kiss from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Those final moments, way too soon, way too early, surrounded by every single one of you. If I had to recompose the Ezu Ashir line, it would be one who is zocha to have such a loving family around him at all moments and at that moment. And so, Joan, and each of you, I want to tell you, you were blessed. I know you know it, but we have your husband, your father, and grandfather in the greatest admiration. And now I will call upon some of the family members to share their perspectives and their memories. First Moshe, and then Lisa, Daniela, Raquel, Emma, Laura, Noah, Adam, and Yada. Chava.
I want to start by thanking my brother Yoni for giving me the zchus of partnering with you on our father's eulogy. This week, this morning, we read Parshas Zachor, Machot Timcha Zecher Amalek. And you should surely wipe out the memory of Amalek. How do you wipe out a memory? I would argue that my dad would say, you supplant it with positive, beautiful, loving memories. Hodu Hashem ki tov, ki le'olam chasdo. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endures forever. If you would ask my Abba how he was doing, most often this was the answer you received. He was so thankful and deferential to Hashem for the blessings that he bestowed on our family. And he would very often say, he had no idea why Hashem had chosen him and our family to receive such blessings. But those of us here certainly can understand at least some of the reasons why Abba and Ima, she should live and be well, earned those blessings. The blessings of family, the blessings of love, the blessings of respect, the blessing of earning an honest living, the blessing of a life full of gratitude. He was the chairman of our family board. And that theme, I truly have no idea what merit I personally have accrued to deserve my Abi, the love of my life, my prince. My Abba was the perfect Abba for me, and I'm so grateful. My Abba taught me so much about an unyielding, honest relationship with God, his fellow human beings, business, and life. He would do so in a soft, gentle, direct, and caring way. I am deeply grateful for each and every lesson that will be carried with me for as long as I'm blessed to walk this earth. So I thought my eulogy and parting words would include just a few of those lessons I was honored and blessed to learn from my father. And perhaps by articulating them here tonight, this amazing supportive community and those on Zoom can internalize them and pay them forward. This is certainly not an exhaustive list, as he would only wish me to be brief and offer him a modicum of humility. Or as he would say, don't make such a hoo-ha-hey. Hakara satov. Be appreciative of what folks have done for you, and never take it or them for granted, and never sweat the small stuff. Say little and do a lot. Coupled with don't try, do. So many folks say they'll try to do things. For my dad, trying wasn't good enough. He would never just try. He would do. He always kept his word. He always went to the end of the earth for me. The blessings and importance of loyalty. From a young age, my father always had my back. I was made to feel and know that if I did the right thing, and sometimes not the right thing, he would be in my corner. He would support me and gently guide me and others back to the right place or a better place. He made me feel safe. One of the stories I often tell when I was in high school, and perhaps not in full coordination with the administration, our class bought Letterman jackets. Our class was so proud of these jackets, but at some point the school felt it was too much of a gang mentality, so they banned the jackets. Sure enough, come Sunday, when my dad was accustomed to daven at school with me, he waltzes in, wearing my Letterman jacket, not too subtly indicating to school officials that he was now in our gang. He had our back. He supported our feelings of togetherness. Indeed, we were not a gang, but rather a group of smart young men who cultivated a deep sense of friendship, loyalty, and camaraderie. The blessings of an open home, open and welcoming home. My oldest memories include rabbis, scholars, dignitaries, cousins, and others staying in our home for Shabbat and weekends. During the week, folks just milling and walking about, sitting at the dinner table engaged in conversation. And we children were the beneficiaries of this exposure and knowledge, intellectual and emotional conversations on every conceivable subject. And when I was in high school, the number of friends I would have to sleep over, to eat chicken, meat, and fish, as Zev Turin would say, was epic. Our home was a destination for countless yeshiva out-of-towners. The open home of my parents allowed me to cultivate so many lifelong friendships and relationships. The blessings and importance of generosity, of time and understanding. My father always took my calls, always took the time to hear, empathize, and reflect on any situation I was going through, good, bad, or otherwise. He always was there to lend an ear, and only sometimes an opinion, often saying, "That's above my pay grade." Such humility, coupled with always making me feel heard. My biggest fear. For years, believe it or not, my father and I spoke about everything, openly and honestly, including speaking about his dying. My fears, all of it. My father, since the passing of my uncle, of my Zadie Sam, who died when I was 15, was the only person on the planet that understood me unconditionally. Philanthropy. When I was younger, living at 6110 Drake, Mr. Ruffin, folks who used to ring the doorbell each night for various charitable causes, seeking contributions. My Abba could have just written a check, but instead, he invited them in. He had them share their charity's mission with his children, talking to them with such care and love, taking time, treating them with dignity, and educating us along the way of how to treat people, share the bounty of charity. And to this day, I have relationships with charities due to my father and mother planting the seed. The importance of humility and language. My dad developed his own language and delivery style. Our family often jokes and replicates his homemade idioms, style, and word choices. My dad was an incredible orator, people often asking him to speak at their funerals. And I have always been nervous about delivering a less than amazing eulogy for my dad, a eulogy that would exalt him with the totality of respect and accolades he earned and deserves. Worried I would forget something important, but as the time got closer, I knew more than the execution and perfection. It was love, heart, and sincerity that my Abba would value. My siblings often catch me and each other using words, phrases, and styles that are Abba's. I look forward to doing so for years to come. Nothing's a bigger honor than being told I sound, act, or think like my father. The blessing of healthy touch. Hugs. Holding hands when we cross the street. Whether sitting next to him in shul. His reaching out during davening, just to hold my hand. Or that patented Abba neck tap that my friends love so much. And one of these things, he would do so many more things that we never knew about. My Abba died with the same dignity that he lived. Quiet, dignified, surrounded by a loving family that is committed to carrying on his legacy. I never want to disappoint my father, and I always will endeavor to live up to his name. I have always dreaded this day when my father, mentor, confidant, business partner, and best friend, my Abba, would pass. Intellectually, I know he's in a much better place, but emotionally, of course, it's a blow that one is never truly prepared for. I wish to thank my siblings and their spouses for their dedication and love to me, Abba and Ima, during this impossible time. The local siblings for all you did and do for our parents, and my out-of-town siblings for moving here. Your kibbud Abba and Ima is something Abba and Ima appreciate tremendously. Relating to people, children, and grandchildren. One of my Abba's most incredible qualities is how he related to each person in the way they needed to be related to. Separate and distinct relationships with each child, a special bond with each grandchild. The truth is, I don't even know a fraction of it. I hear tidbits, like a weekly share with his grandsons, when they started getting into learning. That went on for years. Who knew? To the 17 grandchildren, he loved, respected, and deeply connected with each and every one of you in your own way. incredible qualities. Abba developed a close relationship with all 17 of you with divergent interests, personalities, wants, and needs. But each of you feel connected to him, would run to him for even a moment of saving time. It's imperative that you keep his memory alive. Listen to and share stories you have amassed. Ask for more when you need to. They are epic and will surely serve you well in your lives and your relationships. My biggest cheerleader. Abba celebrated mine and each of our accomplishments like it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. He articulated how proud he was of you specifically and would not let you poo-poo it, as he said. When I was graduating law school, I thought for a hot minute that I would not walk down the graduation aisle. My dad would not hear of it. I am going to see my oldest son walk in his cap and gown and cheer as loud as I can at your great accomplishment. Dafyomi. One of the greatest photos I have is when my dad came to celebrate my Siyum Hashas. We, in that picture, I'm gazing at him, and he's beaming with pride at my accomplishment. When I started, he promised he would be there when I finished, and he was. He was so inspired that he started this Dafyomi cycle and promised that we would finish this cycle together. My sister Daniela and my cousin Chavi as well. I'm so sad that we will not finish in person together, but I want to believe that as I'm learning Yeshiva Shalmata, my dad is beaming and steiging in Yeshiva Shalmata with all his cute hand motions and his eyes just beaming with pride. And that is what I will remember and miss most about Abba. His beaming at all of our accomplishments, both in his voice on the phone and his eyes and face in person. He would make me feel like $1,000,000 for anything I was involved in. I'm going to miss that very much. But I know I still have the biggest cheerleader cheering from a different, more glorious vantage point. Much better club seat level. Surrounded by Zadie and Bubby, Grandma and Grandpa, Uncle Norman and Auntie Esther, J.J. Frimmer, Shelley, and other family members. And so many friends. Mr. Frankel, Mr. Will, Mr. Schwartz, Makowski, Mrs. Nussbaum, and Manny. And they were belly laughing like old times. Abba, please keep a watch over me, Dahlia, Nina, Elizabeth, our entire family and community, and all that we do. I miss you more than you'll ever know. You are and were the best father I could ever have dreamed of.
My dear Abba, what a job this is. How am I supposed to speak about the greatest orator that I have ever known, whose words are always so beautiful and so perfect and elegant? I'm going to try my best to do you proud. My dear Abba, my sweet, sweet Abba, you are my heart. What am I going to do without you? Always in my corner, always. How do I say goodbye to an Abba who used to take me out on dates for black cows when I was young to make sure that we had some special alone time together and I didn't get lost in a house full of children? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who has such wisdom and always knew what to say and how to say it? How do I to an Abba who was the yin to Ima's yang, who got into his pajamas in a motel room with ants, when my mother made the rest of us sleep in our clothes. How do I say goodbye to an Abba who always made sure he had quarters for the magic fingers in the motel rooms when we would take family road trips and made that the most exciting thing about the trip? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who believed that it was so important that all 30-something of us, children and grandchildren, be together for Pesach, that he would start planning in October to make sure that everything was perfect? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who I watched take care of his own mother the last few years of her life, visiting her every single day without fail and giving her so much love? I was so scared I would never be able to meet up to that level of kibbud avim. But when the time came, there was no question, because that is the model that I had in you. How do I say goodbye to an Abba who always felt that everything we had in our lives was from Hashem, who always said, "The good Lord has blessed this family"? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who always made me feel okay about being an introvert and shared that he felt the same way? The fact that we shared a way of being in the world, a quietness and an appreciation of going through the world together like that, helped me through much of my life. The answer is, I'm not going to say goodbye to you. The conversation will continue. You will continue to be my heart and my strength and the person who will be guiding my life based on the way you led yours and the wisdom that you have given to me. I love you.
As I speak to you tonight, I hear my Father's words in my head. Speak slowly, clearly, and loudly, so the people in the next room can hear you. Abba, I'm going to do my best. The other thing resonating in my head is that my father did not like any hoo-ha-hey. So my goal here is to be concise, while giving him the respect he so deeply deserves. As a family tonight, we feel directionless. We've lost our compass, our patriarch, our Zadie, and our Abba. At this moment, words seem elusive. Maybe because our family has lost our resident master of words. My Abba always knew what to say, and more importantly, he would craft a beautiful way to say it. His speeches in our family were legendary. The highlight of any Bellows Simcha was when my Abba would speak. We would listen so intently, not wanting to miss a single painstakingly chosen and well-punctuated word that captured the exact sentiment he wanted to convey. Abba, you were the best of us. You made us feel like we were great by extension. I was so lucky to have you as my Abba for 56 years, and yet it feels like it was not nearly enough. And I don't want to think about my world without you in it. You were like my secret weapon. You were this constant feel-good machine that I had, and it felt so good because it was so genuine. The compliments were so real, especially because you knew that when I did something you didn't like, you would lower your head. And you were looking at me with the top of your eyes. You didn't say anything, so we would both just smile. Those eyes were so expressive. We could have a whole conversation with just our eyes. And I'm going to miss so much looking into those eyes. You taught me never to miss an opportunity to be silent and to know precisely when to speak out. I'm going to miss our phone calls. You were always so excited to hear what was going on in my life, in Lawrence's life, and in our children's lives. And your voicemail. Just calling to tell you how fabulous I think you are. You are one remarkable woman. I had a great call with, one of the kids. You have such great kids. You turned the simple Shabbos greeting into our family fave. Good Shabbos, so special, Zadie, thumbs up. And you even managed to do that last Shabbat when Sophia wished you good Shabbos on the speakerphone, even though you had very limited strength. We will keep that up, but it will be hard to duplicate your excitement and your flair. You made it crystal clear that it was important to you that we live our lives as an integral part of the Jewish community and for the Jewish people, to invest in making the Jewish community better. And you were so proud of our efforts, trying to emulate in our own tiny way, you and Ima, in that regard. You wanted each one of us to cultivate our own relationship with our Creator. And watching how you did that, we had a big head start. I cannot accurately capture the influence you have had on each and every single one of your grandchildren, who are missing you all so much right now, and I'm so grateful for it. Like us, they love nothing more than to just be with you, just being in your presence. Okay, being in your presence at a Bulls game was also pretty good. My Abba was an Ish Eitzah. People beyond our family sought him out for his advice, and he advised people about their careers and their business deals and their life in general. He was so generous with his time, giving people thoughtful, personal advice. People he knew well and people he didn't know at all. You were truly an American community, a Chicago community icon. And that was above and beyond the advice that this family sought from him on a fairly regular basis. His children and his grandchildren wanted to run things by him and get his perspective on all things large and small, and he loved that. Pesach was your holiday. You worked for months to create the perfect family experience, working out every minute detail to elevate our holiday, to encourage family closeness, to heighten spirituality, and have loads of fun. Over the past few weeks, Kabbalat Shabbat has taken on a meaning for me. Soon after you shared your diagnosis with us, I came to Chicago to spend Shabbat with you and Ima. The three of us sat in your study, in her chair. Ima in her chair, and me and you on the couch. Emotions were high, but we held hands and we sang Kabbalat Shabbat in barely audible voices, tears streaming down our faces. And more recently, last Friday, after you were admitted to the ICU, I really didn't know what to expect. The night before was tough. I was with you, and Friday night I said, it's going to be Shabbat soon. I lit the hospital Shabbos candles to illuminate your room, and I asked you if you wanted to hear Kiddush. Your eyes opened wide, and you shook your head. I made Kiddush and Hamutzi, and we sings we wrote for 40 glorious minutes. You followed along with your finger and your head back and forth to all of the tunes. We're so happy. We benched every single word together, and you gave me one of my most treasured hugs afterwards. I felt so honored to have shared that with you. Abba, I know how much you wanted to celebrate your 60th wedding anniversary with your love, our Ima, this summer. You were so looking forward to it, but you just didn't get enough time. I'm so thankful to you, Abba. As I told you soon after you were diagnosed, that you were the ultimate father. I wanted for nothing, and that's why this is so incredibly painful. These past 2 weeks, you fought so hard. As you encountered obstacle after obstacle, you rallied when no one expected you to. You were so strong, and I know things got rough. And I asked for your mechila, because I know you fumbled at the end, and I'm sorry for that. I'm thankful that you were never in pain, and you always knew what was happening until the very last moment. You told Adam, Sophia, and Raquel just yesterday to love each other, stay together, and be there for each other. And then you so urgently asked for a kippah because you did not want to enter Olam bareheaded. Or maybe you were wondering what Bubby would think when she welcomed you, I don't know. Raquel was singing Kabbalat Shabbat with you in her sweet, sweet voice, and Eva was by your side. You were entranced until you looked out the window, waiting for that exquisite, bright orange sunset that lit up the sky here yesterday. And just like that, you drifted out of this world into the waiting arms of Bubby and Zadie, and of course, Ribono Shalom, with whom you've had a lifelong affair. I know you're happy, but it's the rest of us who are left to figure out how to do this. Thank you for being my Abba. Please find a way to teach me how to navigate the rest of this. See, I'm already looking at you. Abba, you were wise, you were exquisite, and you were my Abba.
As my Uncle Moshe said, thank you all so much for being here tonight. And to those listening in, and to those who will hear this recording in the coming days, we thank you. I'm the first of my Zadie's grandchildren who will speak tonight, and also his oldest grandchild, or as he and my Savta say, the eldest grandchild. And as the eldest grandchild to my Savta and Zadie, I was privileged to experience a lot of firsts with them. This included the first trips to see their out-of-town grandchildren, their annual trips to New York City, where they took each of my siblings out for a night of culture, fun, and to simply enjoy being with each other. On my nights, we went to the ballet, and I followed these two seemingly all-powerful beings around New York City, where all doors seemed to open for them. This also included being the first of their grandchildren to go off to college. My freshman year, my Zadie started a refrain, saying to me something that he has stated in nearly every conversation I've had with him since, in the 11 years since. Okay, I'm going to let you go now, he would say at the end of the phone call. I love you. Remember, Hakol Kol Yaakov. Hakol Kol Yaakov. This pasuk in Parshat Toldot ends with the Hayazayim Yudei Esav. The voice is the voice of Jacob, while the hands are the hands of Esav. I don't know exactly what my Zadie meant by this, but I'll tell you what it has meant to me. It is the epitome of what it means to live a life of Torah Umadah at the highest level. While our hands are committed to doing good work in the world, in the halls of the academy, of repairing this world, of building the future, and of helping others, Our hearts and our priorities must always be singing loudly with godly intentions. In every room to which we walk, we are Jews first. When people ask me, what kind of Jew are you? Modern Orthodox? I just say, I'm my grandparents' grandchild. My Zaydi was the quintessential gentleman. He was also the quintessential yeshiva bacher, the quintessential businessman, the quintessential advisor. He was simply a quintessential Ben Torah. He lived excellently in all things. He always looked sharp. His thinking was always clear-hearted, clear-headed, and measured. His manner was soft, firm, fair, clear. Whether he was being consulted upon for halachic matters, legal matters, business matters, or personal mentorship, or whether he was dressed in an 8-foot-tall Big Bird costume during the Pesach Seder, so that the children should ask and laugh. His priorities were clear. Above all, Hakol Kol Yaakov. What matters most is our beautiful heritage and our responsibility to its legacy. Family, Kavod Hashem, Kavod HaBriot, Shalom HaKihilah, Chesed. As we walk in this world, I know Zaydi's expectations for living beautifully are high for us. I am, as all of us are, extraordinarily lucky to have his voice guiding me. Yehi Zichro Baruch. And may the memory of this most remarkable patriarch be for eternal blessing.
Son of someone who lives his life to my Zaydi in one speech is the most overwhelming task I can imagine. It's something I would normally never do publicly. My Zaydi never wasted an opportunity to stand up and tell people how proud he was of them and how much he loved them. And in an effort to be a little bit more like him every day, I'm going to try. My Zaydi meant so many things to so many different people. But first and foremost, he was a Talmud Chacham. He knew the answer to almost any halachic question you could ask him, yet he was a student at heart. He was never too proud to ask another rabbi for their thoughts and was never done learning. Myself and Zaydi were always coming and going from a shiur or lecture, and they would leave being able to fully relay everything they had learned to whoever they spoke to next. He had a deep and profound appreciation for the Torah and was never done absorbing its lessons. Zaydi was also a true powerhouse in every sense of the word. He was the most organized and persistent person I've ever met. He loved routine and he loved to-do lists. About once a week when I was in high school, Noah would ask me if I wanted to go to the gym with him before school. I would always respond, no. He would say hi to my Zaydi for me. And sure enough, every time I wake up to a text with him, I wake up to a text from my Zaydi alerting me that he saw my special friend. He's referred to Noah. The text from Noah, marveling at my Zaydi's consistency, always found on the stationary bike at Lifetime, decked out in my dad's socks from high school, and facelessly reading the newspaper. After the gym, Zaydi would hit Starbucks and sit down to have a moment to himself before the day began. My Zaydi's Starbucks name was Tim, and every day, Tim would go through the motions. He would sit there sipping his coffee, eating 2 chips of white cookies that he had pre-wrapped in a paper towel and the pick in his pocket. His organization extended far beyond his morning routine. When I got married in the summer of 2020, Zaydi learned the public event protocols in every state and organized them into folders. Every time we met that summer to make it another change to the wedding plans, the pile of folders grew. He had scores of halachic sources about whatever questions might arise, full biographies of all of Noah's family members so that he could adequately address them in his speech under the chuppah, and notes he took from questionnaires he had Noah and I fill out about our relationship so that everything was personal. Once we finally landed on a wedding destination in Rockford, New Jersey, Zaydi took it upon himself to get acquainted with the county clerk's office so that no issues would arise when he decided to obtain our marriage license. His calls and conversations went so far that when it came time for me to call and make an appointment for my marriage license, the secretary who answered the phone immediately recognized my name and proceeded to tell me how much she's been enjoying getting to know my grandfather. My baby was a teacher. Myself and him together built a life with very clear values, and they made it their life's mission to spread these values. Nothing was more important to them than spreading the love of Torah and Israel, perpetuating an endless amount of chesed. This community is a testament to them and everything they've worked so hard for. Every institution I've touched and everyone I've met through them was somehow impacted by the tireless work of my grandparents. While I could have learned their values simply by growing up in this community and just watching them and hearing everyone around me sing their praises, my grandparents went the extra mile. They taught us that families and communities are not built by accident, but by intention, personal commitments, and hard work. I was in first grade the first time my baby took me, my siblings, and my cousins to deliver Mount Fleeting. He would pick us up with a big smile and explain to us how gifted we are to have adequate food and supplies for Chagim, and how because of that, we need to go out and make sure everyone else is taken care of. He would bring us into strangers' homes and introduce us to the recipients so that they would feel dignified and like we were being visited by friends. Afterward, he'd take us all to Baskin Robbins, making it clear that this was a reward we earned, the very important work we just done. Every summer, my grandparents hosted a day for 5 Lifeline children at Six Flags. Each year we would go, and my baby would take a moment with me and my cousins to show us how blessed we were to have our health and how important it was for us to care for those who don't. He refused to let any day go by without making sure that each of us felt touched and grateful for what we had. There were so many more classes that my grandparents introduced me and my cousins to at a very young age, always with the lesson that we should be grateful for what we have, and we should work hard to ensure that we can help others achieve what my baby felt they lacked, be it access to a good Torah education, the opportunity to learn in Israel, or the ability to live a basic, dignified life in our community. Zadie would call all of us out when he felt like we were really absorbing his lessons. Anyone who has ever eaten with my family on Shabbos or Chag knows that he would prepare a fully composed, dignified, and relevant speech every single time. Each speech would end with him addressing every single person at the table, one by one. He would tell them how much he loved them and praise them for something that they were up to at any given moment. These speeches are really what characterized my baby best. He never for a second left you wondering how he felt about you. He'd make sure you knew how special you were and how your work was somehow contributing to the greater world that he was committed to building. The compliments in these speeches ranged and sometimes felt small. For example, one cousin could have just graduated college or gotten a new job, and others may not have something profoundly life-changing going on at the moment. Nonetheless, he'd find reason to be proud. For example, he would always have a few leftover grandchildren that he would tell he was proud of for going to Camp Mosheval or something. Something that may feel like an obvious choice to all of us, and not really reason for pride. But this wasn't a throwaway compliment. He really, truly felt immense excitement and comfort knowing that we would be spending our summers in a place he proudly worked, and with a message that resonated with him so much. This was him again, showing us that our communities and institutions don't happen to flourish or even exist, that it was up to us to ensure their success in whatever way we can. On a more personal level, Ms. Zadie taught us that families like mine do not happen by accident. Whenever I meet new people, it usually comes out within a few minutes that they were already friends with at least 2 of my cousins. This is not just because of my family's size, but because he ingrained such strong values in each of his children that ensured that we would all end up in similar communities with parallel institutions. Something that I just assumed was normal and natural while growing up, but later learned it was something special and rare that required work and dedication. Whenever my family is all together, Ms. Zadie could be overheard turning to whoever he was sitting next to, saying his signature refrain. I don't know what we did to make the Kaddish Baruch Hu give us such a blessing. How could we have such a blessing? Look at this. While I don't claim to know Ms. Hashem, the answer always seems obvious. It's everything him, myself and him has ever worked for that perpetuated this blessing. It's because of him that I have cousins who are like brothers and sisters that I talk to and see on a daily basis. It's because of him that whether I was away at camp or in college or just walking around the upper outside, I would get a microcosm of my family's epic Shabbos handed meals because there was always just another one of us in the vicinity. Because of him, I will always not just be surrounded by family members that I love and get me, and there's so much fun to be around. There are people who I respect and I know who are dedicated to the same incredible values, myself and Zadie. These last few weeks have been extremely difficult. However, There's one thing that my cousin Sophia said to me early on that has brought me comfort. Miss Edie really left it all on the table. He never waited for the right time to give you a life lesson or tell you how much he loved you. I can't tell you how many times I opened my phone to a random, multi-paragraph text from my saviors, telling me that I'm from his mind and I should keep doing what I'm doing. You don't think you've ever done this everything all of the time. This Friday, I went to say goodbye to my baby with my brothers and cousins, and he wasn't verbal. However, we asked him if he wanted us to sing a watch to look back to him. He immediately gave us his signature double thumbs up, and we launched into the fidelity. In that moment, I couldn't help but be struck by the total sense of peace and pride he experienced. There we were, singing the songs we learned at the Canopy Belt, where his grandchildren said sons becoming not just cousins, but real best friends. His life's work, his legacy, was completely intact and thriving, and I know I can speak for each of my cousins when I say that we know now that it's up to us to build families and communities worthy of making us ask, what did we do to deserve such blessings from our structure?
Who did I shout until he alone passed by? A phrase he loved, a phrase he lived by, and a phrase he most definitely instilled in me. How lucky am I to be your granddaughter? There are a number of lessons and phrases that my Zadie has taught me that I will forever live by, and that I would like to give over. Akara Tov is first and foremost. Zadie has never begun speaking or writing without an expression of Akara Tov. Zadie has thoroughly taught me the Mira Akara Tov, the importance of sharing words and gratitude to those around him. No matter the occasion, Zadie would cut in for what he called a little break in action. Each time he would begin with his Akara Tov to Hashem for how lucky he feels to be surrounded by such an outstanding family. Zadie, an outstanding family we have because of you. I can speak for all the grandchildren that he made each and every one of us feel like his favorite. He always let me know that we just get each other. A grandfather and daughter connection that is endearing and so special. Moreover, there was simply no better feeling than opening your phone in the middle of a school day to a text from Zadie. Hope you're having a spectacular day. Love Z. Or just letting you know how much I love you. Have a great day. Love Z. Zadie, you never let us forget that you are our biggest cheerleader. Not only us, but to anyone you encounter. I can attest that Zadie made just about anybody feel special. Many years ago, I had the great success to go to the Bulls game with Zadie. Someone came over to him and said, "Oh wow, Mr. Bellows, so good to see you." My Zadie gave him a big smile and a handshake and said, "You too." As he walked away, he whispered to me, "Laura, I had no clue who that was." It did not matter if he knew you or not. He always treated everyone with dignity and kindness. He had a knack for making everyone feel special. I know I'm only 19, but like a lot of my family members, I have never made a decision without him. Most recently, I was torn between two seminaries. Last year at Sam's Uprough, my Zadie came to sit next to me. I haven't even told him yet that I was between two seminaries, but as always, Zadie just knew. He said to me, "So, have you given more thought about next year?" We talked through all the important factors, but as always, he left the decision up to me. A few days later, I texted him my final decision. I had zero confidence in my decision, and it was my first big decision. Later this summer, I had a different and much smaller decision to make, but Zadie, being my '1 fan, texted me, "You'll decide what's best for you. You have a gift of making good decisions." This text has become my ultimate piece of chizuk. He instilled in me the confidence I didn't have and the confidence I'll need for the rest of my life. When all else fails, I look at my Zadie's life to guide me. By graduating from law school and receiving smicha simultaneously, embodying an accurate representation of a person that lives a life concentrated on Torah Amada, The importance of obtaining an excellent secular education alongside one of Torah is a lifestyle that is essential to my Zadie's being. This is a reality that I want to live. The reality that he has set up for our family. I have no doubt that Zadie's influence will continue to ignite and shine, and his reputation will forever live on. How lucky am I to have had such a beautiful connection to such a remarkable person.
I know it's getting pretty late, so thank you to everyone for being here. It truly means a lot to all of us. Everyone that's here or watching the stream online is here because my grandfather made you feel a certain way that nobody else in the world did. We all knew him differently. To some he was Abba, others Zadie, Shael, or Mr. Bellows. But he had an aura about him, a unique blend of understanding, love, and wisdom that would envelop whoever he was with. So I really just wanted to ask everyone for a favor. If we can all take 30 seconds to revel in that aura together as a family and a community one more time. Please take a deep breath and find a memory where just being with my grandfather made it so that nothing else in the world mattered. It may have been a time of need where you sought his advice, or maybe something small, like a smile from across the room, or a tap on the back, or even just taking a walk and hearing him comment on the weather as being a great day for flying, or a bit airish. Whatever the memory, let's just take a moment together to hold on to them and appreciate what a blessing it is to know what true love feels like. For my whole life, I was convinced that I knew my grandfather in a way that nobody else did. And that made me feel special. Our relationship has always been the single most important thing in my life. Only as I got older did I realize that everyone who knew him felt this way. He and I would talk about this often. I wanted to understand how this man, in his quiet, humble, and unassuming way. Those of you who have listened to my Zadie speak know that you have to use adjectives in sets of 3, followed by long pauses for effect. Was able to have such a deep personal effect on so many people. And in one of these conversations, he told me something I'll never forget. He said, "On our own, we are just ourselves. But when I see you and think about you and am with you, you fill an Adam Driver-sized hole in me that I didn't know was there until you came along and filled it. And nobody else in the world could have done that for me." That's how he felt about everyone. Or he said, that's how I feel about everyone. The holes are all different shapes and different depths, but every person in the world can fill something in you that you didn't know you were missing, as long as you allow them to. We will all forever miss the feeling of my grandfather completing that part of us that only he could. But the lessons and love he has left us with will stay with us always. And I can't think of a greater blessing than to have had him in my corner for all of these years. As a bunch of our other family members have said, whenever the entire family was together, as Zadie would say, I really don't understand what kind of zechut avot, or merit of our forefathers and foremothers, have enabled us to be so fortunate. To us, your children and grandchildren, the zechut avot has always been very clear, as we've witnessed it every day. Thank you for everything. We will love you and think of you always.
Zadie was always my number one fan, friend, Rebbe, and person in my life that I can always come to for anything. When I think about everything with my Zadie, one of the first memories that pop into my mind are when he would put me to bed when I was really little. And he would always tell me his Zadie stories. And they were always about him growing up with his parents, him playing in the park, and him going to school and learning about the Rebbe. And then after he would tell me his Zadie story, he would always say Shema with me. And at the end of Shema, he would say, God bless all your friends, families, everything, doctors, teachers. God make you a good Jewish boy or man. And that was it. Being with my Zadie was the biggest blessing and the biggest gift I've ever had in my life. When I would be with my Zadie, I felt like I was untouchable and I could do anything because he was a real life superhero. The thousands of stories of him that I have of him helping others, and the thousands of stories that we have that we'll never know about him helping others. And that's what gets me through. I had the zechus to spend my Zadie's last Shavuos, Pesach, and Sukkot with him. Davening next to him in shul, learning with him in yeshiva, is something I'll never forget. His light, soothing voice during the Chadodi and during all the songs, and him closing his eyes and just holding my hand next to me, singing shul, something I'll never forget. Nothing made him happier than learning with us and having a really special bond with all his grandkids. During COVID, Sam and my Zadie had the best idea where we Zoomed every single day. And me, Jordan, Sam, Noah, Judah, Rami. And we would just listen to my Zadie speak to us for however long it was. He would tell us Torah, and he would tell us life lessons. And he would tell us goals, and he would tell us everything we need to know in this world. He set a real blueprint for every single one of us. And he set a real blueprint on how to be a tzaddik and a ben Torah, and how to remember everything that he's taught us. In sixth grade, in seventh, 8th grade, I would always go to his house at night, and I would just tell him everything. I would just cry to him, I would laugh with him, and he knew exactly what to say to me. He knew exactly how to make me feel better, and he knew exactly everything to say to me. The holidays with my Zadie were my favorite part with him. He made each holiday so special. Pesach was our favorite holiday together. The Seder, being with everyone, the connections I made with everyone because of that. He made each single grandkid be best friends with each single grandkid, and that was only because of him. I talk to him every single day, and I'm going to miss my Zadie, and I'm going to miss talking to him every single day. Everyone can speak on forever and ever about my Zadie and all the great things he did for his community and our family. About 7 weeks ago, I got the awful news when I was sitting in my grandparents' living room with my brother. And I was just crying and saying how sorry I am that this is happening. Him and my softer were just smiling at me. He was just smiling and saying, "Why are you sorry? This is what Hashem wants. This is supposed to happen." I was telling him, "Yeah, but you're not supposed to go out like this. It's not supposed to be like this." He was saying, "Every single day I'm here is a gift. Every single day I'm with you is a blessing and a gift. He said, we'll count our days. He said, we're just going to ask Hashem for time. And that's what happened. He said, every single day is a gift that I have with you and here at the Shem. He told me about 7 weeks ago, he said, we're not supposed to do any of this. This isn't supposed to happen to us. Hashem just blessed us. He said, I don't know why this happens to me, but it happened. And we just thank Hashem. And every day we're here is a blessing and a gift. I'm going to miss my Xavier a lot. He taught me a lot. He taught all of us a lot. And I'm so thankful I have him in my life forever. And I'm going to miss it now. Thank you, everyone.
Superhero to some, confidant to others, mentor to many, legend and goat of all time, greatest of all time. Just a few words to describe my dad, but to me, he was Abba. Family was the most important thing to him, and he always made his children and grandchildren feel like they were the most important thing in the room, always. It was the gleam in his eyes, the flicker of his smile. For example, when I was in first grade, I stubbed my toe and I went to the office and asked for a nice pack. While in the office, they asked if they could look at my toe and I said, I don't think so. And I noticed the principal's door was closed and I overheard the office people saying that there was a board meeting going on. Me, being only 6, knew that my dad was somehow in the meeting and I needed to get him out. So, what was my plan? I just went for it, and I knocked on the door and opened it and saw lots of eyes staring down at me. But as soon as I locked eyes with my dad, he said, excuse me, let's take a 5-minute break. And he came over and comforted me with hugs and kisses. This is just one example of my Abba always making time for his family, no matter what. He was my biggest cheerleader, my biggest fan. He was my moral compass. He always knew what to say and when to say it, even if it was hard to hear. He never judged. He would always encourage us to just do better. To my kids, he was larger than life. Always wanting to have a good time, and sometimes when he needed to be serious, they got that too. To all of you, his grandchildren, you are his pride and joy. He always wanted to hear about each and every one of you and what you were up to. And I'm sorry he won't be there to officiate any of my kids' weddings, or dance up go to sporting events with you, or just give you a Zadie hug. Ima, he was your Prince Charming, your soulmate, your Shaul. He tried to do everything for you, and I think he did, but now it is up to us to make sure that you are okay and well taken care of, and hopefully we will be able to accomplish this mission. Torah and Chesed was what he was about, and we all saw that, whether it be through packaged meals of Ma'ahitim before Rosh Hashanah and Pesach, or the different organizations and schools he supported. We know that because of him, we will continue with our Jewish traditions. One of his favorite sayings was, Ezehu Ashir, and we would have to answer, Hasameach B'chalko. I never thought I would be up here doing this. I don't know how to get through this, but we will somehow get together with our family and do it as one. Abba, I know that you're going to watch over all of us all the time. And like you always say, I don't know why Hashem was so fortunate to us, but we are the fortunate ones to have you in our lives. Thank you, and I will always love you.
we closed the Haftarah today, albeit in a different context, we read the words, V'Shaul Allah el Beiso Yivat Shaul. And Shaul ascended to his home. Tonight, as we leave after Kol Yoni to recite the Kelmali Rachamim, we will accompany Shaul. We will walk behind him one last time. We will usher him forward to his home, to his most beloved home, Eretz Yisrael, to be one with the earth, and ultimately his neshama will ascend to the Olam HaEmes, where as much as he guided each of you and each of us with such wisdom, with such poise, with such strength, with such a remarkable brilliance, wisdom, know exactly what to say and exactly when to say it. That koach, that power of Amelit Yosher will be even greater in the world of truth. Kol Hanyoni, to recite the Kelmali Rachamim.
צאים לך נכונה, כנפי השכינה, מעלות סדשים טהורים, בזרע הרקיע מעשירים. אז נשמע סבי מורי, שאול בן שמואל, שהלך לעולמו. עבור שלי נדר תנסתקף עד הפרס נשמסו, בגן עדן תהד מנחסו. וכן בעל רחמים יסירי ובססר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרו בתור החיים, אז נשמסו. Adonai Hunu Chalaso, Yaduach B'Shalom HaMishkavar, Mishkavo V'Namar. Amen. Amen.
The burial in Israel will be Monday, approximately 11:30 a.m. at Eretz Chaim Cemetery in Beit Shemesh. The family will be back Tuesday, when they'll be sitting Shabbat at home. The times we'll post once they come back. For those who want to be Malava, the next we're going to do it right outside in the parking lot, and then we'll go to the airport.
Shalom lekulchem. Welcome. On behalf of the entire extended Bellows family, we want to thank you all for coming to pay kavod acharon to our beloved Shael Bellows, Shaul ben Chanalea. We had a extremely powerful and moving and dignified ceremony last night in Chicago, and a number of the family members would like to get up and share with you some of the thoughts that they expressed at that service last night before we proceed to the Kvura. So as Lawrence mentioned, we had a service, funeral in Chicago, where I think we spoke about my father's relationship to Am Yisrael, Torah Yisrael, and now we're here in Eretz Yisrael, bringing those three things together. Hodu Lashem ki tov ki le'olam chasdo. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his memory endures forever. If you would ask my Abba how he was doing, most often this was his answer. This was the answer you received. He was so thankful and deferential to Hashem for the blessings that he bestowed on our family, and would often say he had no idea why Hashem had chosen him and our family to receive such incredible blessings. But those of us here certainly can understand at least some of the reasons for Abba and Ima, may she live and be well, earning those blessings. The blessings of family, the blessings of love, the blessings of respect, the blessings of the ability to earn an honest living, the blessing of living life in full gratitude. He was certainly the chairman of our family board. In that theme, I truly have no idea what merit I personally have accrued to deserve my Abba, the love of my life, my prince. My Abba was the perfect Abba for me, and I'm so grateful. My Abba taught me so much about unyielding, honest relationship with Hashem, his fellow human being, business, and life. And we'd always do so in a soft, gentle, direct, and caring way. I am deeply grateful for each and every lesson that will be carried with me for as long as I am blessed to walk this earth. So I thought my eulogy and parting words would include just a few of those lessons I was honored and blessed to learn from my father. First, hakaras hatov, being appreciative of what folks have done for you and never take it or them for granted. Say little and do a lot, coupled with don't do try. Some folks think they say they'll try to do things, but for my dad, trying wasn't good enough. He would never just try, he would do. He always kept his word, and he always went to the end of the earth for me, my siblings, and his community. The blessings and importance of loyalty. From a young age, my father always had my back, as many of my friends here can attest to. I was made to feel and know that if I did the right thing, and often not the right thing, he would be in my corner. He would support me and guide me gently back to the right place, or even, most often, a better place. The blessings of an open and welcoming home. My earliest memories of my home include rabbis, scholars, dignitaries, cousins, and others staying in our home on Shabbat and weekends. During the week, folks just milling about, sitting at the dinner table, engaged in all types of conversations. And when I became older and was in high school, the number of friends I would have sleep over, eat over at a moment's notice, chicken, meat, or fish, as Zev Turin would often say, was epic. Our home was a destination for countless yeshiva students. The open home my parents allowed me to cultivate provided me with lifelong friendships and relationships. The blessings and importance of generosity of time and understanding. My father always took my calls, always took the time to hear, empathize, and reflect on any situation I was going through, good, bad, or otherwise. He always was there to lend an ear and only sometimes an opinion, often saying, that's above my pay grade, even though there was nothing that was above his pay grade. Such humility coupled with always making me feel heard. Philanthropy. When I was younger, at 6110 Drake, Mishulachin would come to the house and ring the doorbell at all hours. My Abba could have just written a check, but instead he invited them in, and he had them share with the kids the charity's mission, talking to them with such care, love, and devotion, taking time, treating them with dignity, and educating us along the way of how to treat people. Share the bounty of charity, and to this day I have relationships with charities due to my father's planting those seeds. The importance of humility and language. My dad certainly had his own language and delivery style. Our family often jokes and replicates his homemade idioms, style, and word choices. My dad was an incredible orator. People often asked him to speak at their funerals.
My siblings often catch me and each other using words, phrases, styles that are Abba's. I look forward to doing so for years to come. Nothing is a bigger honor than being told I sound, act, think, or do like my father. The blessings of healthy touch, hugs, holding hands when we cross the street, even though I'm 54 years old. When sitting next to him in shul, he would reach out during davening just to hold my hand. Or that patented Abba neck tap that my friends and we all love so much. And much more than these things, he would do so many things that we never knew about, nor will we ever know about. My Abba died with the same dignity that he lived, quiet, surrounded by a loving family that is committed to carrying on his legacy. I publicly want to thank my siblings and their spouses for their dedication and love to me, Abba, and Ima during this impossible time. The local siblings for all of you did and do for our parents, and my out-of-town siblings for moving to Chicago. Your Kibbud Av V'Aim is something Abba and Ima I know appreciate tremendously. Relating to people. One of Abba's most incredible qualities was how he related to each person in the way they needed to be related to. He had separate and distinct relationships with each of his children and a special bond with each of his grandchildren. And as I've already heard countless times, both in Chicago and even in our short time here, with individuals, young and old, for many, many, many decades, our biggest cheerleader. Abba celebrated my and each of my accomplishments like it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he articulated out loud, proudly, how enamored he was by your accomplishments. And he would be very specific, and he would never let you poo-poo it. When I graduated law school, I thought for a hot minute that I would not walk down the aisle. My dad wouldn't hear of it. I'm going to see my oldest son walk in his cap and gown and cheer as loud as I can at your great accomplishment. And he did. Dafyomi. One of the greatest photos I have is when my dad came with me to celebrate the Siyum HaShas. In that iconic picture, I'm gazing at my father into his eyes, and he's beaming with pride at my accomplishment. When I started the second cycle, he promised he'd be there and finish with me. He was so inspired. And he promised me and my sister Daniela and my cousin Javi that we would finish this cycle together. And I'm so sad that we won't finish in person together, but I believe that I'm learning that as I'm learning in Yeshiva Shalmata, my dad is beaming and steiging in Yeshiva Shamala with all his cute hand motions and his eyes beaming with pride. And that's what I'll remember most about my Abba, his beaming at all of our accomplishments, both in his voice on the phone and in his eyes and face in person. He would make me feel like $1 million for all I was involved in. I'm going to miss it very much, but I know I will still have the biggest cheerleader cheering just from a different vantage point, a glorious vantage point. Surrounded by Zadie and Bubby, Grandma and Grandpa, Uncle Norman and Auntie Esther, J.J. Frimmer, and other family members, and so many friends from the old times. Mr. Frankel, Mr. Wilk, Mr. Schwartz, Mikowski, Mrs. Nussbaum, Manny the waiter, and now Shelley. And they're all going to belly laugh like old times in the back row of KJBS. Abba, please watch over me, my siblings, our family, our community, Dahlia, Nina, Elizabeth, Apple, and everybody and all that we do. I miss you more than you will ever know. You're a fighter who never gave up for a second. teaching us even in your final moments how strong someone can be and how loving someone can be. You were the best father and are the best father I could have ever dreamed of.
My dear Abba, what a job this is. How am I supposed to speak about the greatest orator that I have ever known, whose words are always so beautiful and so perfect and elegant? I'm going to try my best to do you proud. My dear Abba, my sweet, sweet Abba, you are my heart. What am I going to do without you, always in my corner, always? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who used to take me out on dates for black cows when I was young to make sure that we had some special alone time together and I didn't get lost in a house full of children? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who has such wisdom and always knew what to say and how to say it? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who was the yin to Ima's yang, who got into his pajamas in a motel room with ants when my mother made the rest of us sleep in our clothes? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who always made sure he had quarters for the magic fingers in the motel rooms when we would take family road trips and made that the most exciting thing about the trip? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who believed that it was so important that all 30-something of us, children and grandchildren, be together for Pesach, that he would start planning in October to make sure that everything was perfect? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who I watched take care of his own mother the last few years of her life, visiting her every single day without fail, and giving her so much love? I was so scared I would never be able to meet up to that level of kibud av va'em. But when the time came, there was no question, because that is the model that I had in you. How do I say goodbye to an Abba who always felt that everything we had in our lives was from Hashem, who always said, "The good Lord has blessed this family"? How do I say goodbye to an Abba who always made me feel okay about being an introvert and shared that he felt the same way? The fact that we shared a way of being in the world, a quietness and appreciation of going through the world together like that, helped me through much of my life. The answer is, I'm not going to say goodbye to you. The conversation will continue. You will continue to be my heart and my strength and the person who will be guiding my life based on the way you led yours and the wisdom that you have given to me. I love you.
As I speak to you today, I hear my Father's words in my head. Speak slowly, clearly, and loudly, so people in the next room can hear you. Abba, I'm going to do my best. The other thing resonating in my head is that my Father does not like any hoo-ha-hey. So my goal is to be concise while giving him the respect he so deeply deserves. As a family, right now we feel directionless. We've lost our compass, our patriarch, our Zadie, our Abba. At this moment, words seem elusive. Maybe because our family has lost our resident master of words. My Abba always knew what to say, and more importantly, he would craft a beautiful way to say it. His speeches in our family were legendary. The highlight of any Bellows Simcha was when my Abba would speak. We would listen so intently, not wanting to miss a single painstakingly chosen, well-punctuated word that captured exactly the sentiment he wanted to convey. Abba, you were the best of us, and you made us feel like we were great by extension. I was so lucky to have you as my Abba for 56 years, and yet it feels like nearly not enough. And I don't even want to think about my world without you in it. You were like my secret weapon. You were this constant feel-good machine that felt so good because it was so genuine. The compliments were so real, especially because when I did something you didn't like, you would do something like lower your head and look at me with this top-of-the-eye stare and just wait until we both smiled. No words needed to be spoken. Your eyes were so expressive. We could have had a whole conversation with just our eyes. And I'm going to miss looking into those eyes. You taught me never to miss an opportunity to be silent and to know precisely when to speak up. I'm going to miss our phone calls. You were always so excited to hear about what was going on in my life, in Lawrence's life, and in our children's lives. And your voicemails. Just calling to tell you how fabulous you are. I think you're a really remarkable woman. Or, I just had a great call with any one of my kids. You really have wonderful children. You turned a simple Shabbos greeting into a family favorite. Your good Shabbos with a special Zadie's thumbs up that you even managed last Shabbat when Sophia wished you a Shabbat Shalom on speakerphone, even though your strength was limited. You made it crystal clear that it was important to you that we lived our lives as an integral part of the Jewish people, to invest in making the Jewish community better. And you are so proud of our efforts to try emulating in our own tiny way you and Ima in that regard. You wanted each one of us to create and cultivate a relationship with our Creator. And watching you and how you did that, we had a great head start. I cannot accurately capture your influence on every single one of your grandchildren who are all missing you so much, but I am so grateful for it. They, like us, just loved nothing more than being in your presence. Okay, being in your presence at one of your favorite Bulls games was pretty good too. My Abba was an Ish Eitzah. People beyond our family sought him out for advice. He advised people about their careers, their business deals, and life in general. He was so generous with his time, giving people thoughtful, personal advice, people he knew well and people he did not know at all. And that was above and beyond the advice that our family sought from him on a pretty regular basis. Pesach was your favorite holiday. You would work for months to create the perfect family experience, working out every minute detail to elevate our holiday and encourage family closeness, heighten spirituality, and loads of fun. Over the past few weeks, Kabbalat Shabbat has taken on a new meaning for me. Soon after you shared your diagnosis with us, I came to Chicago to spend Shabbat with you and Ima. The three of us sat in your study, Ima in her chair, and me and you on the couch. Emotions were high, but we held hands as we sang Kabbalat Shabbat in barely audible voices, tears streaming down our faces. And more recently, last Friday, the day after you were admitted to the ICU, I really didn't know what to expect because the night before it was touch and go. I was with you Friday night and I told you it would soon be Shabbat. I lit the hospital Shabbos candles to illuminate your room, and we sang Kabbalat Shabbat together. I asked if you wanted to hear Kiddush, and your eyes opened wide and you shook your head. I made Kiddush and Hamotzi and we sang Zmirot for 45 minutes. You followed along with your finger and your head back and forth, and you were so happy. You gave me one of my most treasured hugs afterwards, and I felt so honored to have shared that moment with you. I know how much you wanted to celebrate your 60th wedding anniversary with your love, our Ima, this summer. You were so looking forward to it, but you didn't get enough time. I'm so thankful to you, Abba. As I told you soon after you were diagnosed, you were the ultimate father, and I wanted for nothing. And that's why this is so incredibly painful. These past 2 weeks, you fought so hard as you encountered obstacle after obstacle that even your incredible negotiating skills couldn't surpass. You rallied when no one expected you to. You were so strong. I know things got rough, and this is not the ending you hoped for. And I ask Mechila because I know we fumbled at the end, and I'm so sorry for that. I'm thankful that you were never in pain, and you always knew what was happening until the very moment you died. You told Adam, Sophia, and Raquel to love each other and to stay together and to be there for each other, and then you urgently asked for a kippah because you did not want to enter Olam Haba bareheaded. Or maybe you were wondering what Bubby would be thinking of when she welcomed you. I don't know. Raquel was singing Kabbalat Shabbat with you in her sweet, sweet voice, and Ima was by your side. You were entranced, looking out the window, waiting for that exquisite bright orange sunset that lit up the sky in Chicago on Friday. And just like that, you drifted out of this world into the waiting arms of Bubby and Zadie, and of course the Ribono Shel Olam, with whom you've had a lifelong affair. I know you are happy, but it's the rest of us that have to figure out how to do this. Thank you for being my Abba. Please find a way to teach me how to navigate the rest of this without you. See, I'm still leaning on you. Abba, you were wise, you were exquisite, you were my Abba.
As has been said, we spoke what seems like just last night, but was Saturday night in Chicago, and it is such a zchut to speak publicly about my Zadie again here. I'm the first of my Zadie's grandchildren who will speak tonight. It's strange being in this room because there are so many extended family members who thought of my Zadie as an additional Zadie to them. But I am his oldest grandchild. or as he and my savta would say, their eldest grandchild. And as their eldest grandchild, I was privileged to experience a lot of firsts with them. This included the first trips to see their out-of-town grandchildren, their annual trips to New York, where they took each of my siblings out for a night of culture, fun, and to simply enjoy being with each other. On my nights, we always went to the ballet, and I followed these two seemingly all-powerful beings around New York City, where all doors seemed to open for them. This also included being the first of their grandchildren to go on a bar or bat mitzvah trip with them. We went to London, and we saw the longest running play in London's West End together, The Mousetrap. And last night on the airplane over here, I got to watch the movie remake of that. This also included being the first of their grandchildren to go off to college. My freshman year, my Zaidi started a refrain saying to me something that he has stated in nearly every conversation I've had with him in the 11 years since. At the end of a phone call, he would say, "Okay, I'm going to let you go now." That was his way he would get off a phone when he wanted to end the conversation. "I love you. Remember, Hakol Kol Yaakov." Hakol Kol Yaakov. This pasuk in Parshat Toldot ends with V'hayadayim yedei Esav. The voice is the voice of Jacob, while the hands are the hands of Esav. I don't know exactly what my Zaidi meant when he said that, but I'll share with you here again what it has meant to me. It's the epitome of what it meant to live a life of Torah Umadah at the highest level. While our hands are committed to doing good work in the world, in the halls of the academy, of repairing this world, of building the future, and of helping others, our hearts and our priorities must always be singing loudly with godly intentions. In every room into which we walk, we are Jews first. When people ask me, "What kind of Jew are you?" I just say, "I'm my grandparents' grandchild." My Zaidi was the quintessential gentleman. He was also the quintessential yeshiva bacher, the quintessential businessman, the quintessential advisor. He was simply a quintessential Ben Torah. He lived excellently in all things. He always looked sharp. His thinking was always clear-headed and measured. His manner was soft, firm, fair, clear. Whether he was being consulted upon for halachic matters, legal matters, business matters, personal mentorship, or community matters within his Chicago community, or whether he was dressed in an 8-foot-tall Big Bird costume during the Pesach Seder, his priorities were clear. Above all, Hakol Kol Yaakov. What matters most is our beautiful heritage and our responsibility to its legacy, family, Kavod Hashem, Kavod HaBriut, Shalom HaKehillah, Chesed. As we walk in this world, I know that Zaidi's expectations for living beautifully are high for us. I am, as all of us are, extraordinarily lucky to have his voice guiding me. Yehi Zichro Baruch. May the memory of this most remarkable patriarch be for an eternal blessing.
Thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to everyone for being here. It truly means a great deal to all of us. Everyone that is here or watching the stream is here because my grandfather made you feel a certain way that nobody else in the world did. We all knew him differently. To some he was Abba, others Zaidi, Shael, or Mr. Bellows. But he had an aura about him, a unique blend of understanding, love, and wisdom that would envelop whoever he was with. So I really just wanted to ask everyone for a favor. If we can all take 30 seconds to revel in that aura together as a family and a community one more time. Please take a deep breath and find a memory where just being with my grandfather made it so that nothing else in the world mattered. It may have been a time of need where you sought his advice, or maybe something small like a smile from across the room, or a tap on the back, or even just taking a walk and hearing him comment on the weather as being a great day for flying or a bit airish. Whatever the memory, let's just take a moment together to hold on to them and appreciate what a blessing it is to know what true love feels like. For my whole life, I was convinced that I knew my grandfather in a way that nobody else did. And that made me feel special. Our relationship has always been the single most important thing in my life. Only as I got older did I realize that everyone who knew him felt this way. He and I would talk about this often. I wanted to understand how this man, in his quiet, humble, and unassuming way, those that have listened to my Zadie speak would know that you have to use adjectives in sets of 3 followed by long pauses for effect, was able to have such a deep personal effect on so many people. In one of these conversations, he told me something I'll never forget. He said, "On our own, we are just ourselves. But when I see you and think about you and am with you, you fill an Adam Schreiber-sized hole in me that I didn't know was there until you came along and filled it. And nobody else in the world could have done that for me." That's how I feel about everyone. The holes are all different shapes and different depths, but every person in the world can fill something in you that you didn't know you were missing as long as you allow them to. We will all forever miss the feeling of my grandfather completing that part of us that only he could. But the lessons and love he has left us with will stay with us always. And I can't think of a greater blessing than to have had him in my corner for all these years. Whenever the entire family was together, my Zadie would say, "I really don't understand what kind of zechut avot, or merit of our forefathers and foremothers, have enabled us to be so fortunate. To us, your children and grandchildren, the zechut avot has always been very clear, as we've witnessed it every day. Thank you for everything. We will love you and think of you always."
Hodul Hashem ki tov ki le'olam chasto. A phrase he loved, a phrase he lived by, and a phrase he most definitely instilled in me. How lucky I am to be your granddaughter. There are a number of lessons and phrases that Zadie has taught me that I will forever live by, and that I would like to give over. Hakar hatov is first and foremost. Zadie has never begun speaking or writing without an expression of Hakar hatov. Zadie has thoroughly taught me the midah of Hakar hatov, the importance of sharing words of gratitude to those around him. No matter the occasion, Zadie would cut in for what he called a little break in the action. Each time he would begin with his Hakar hatov to Hashem for how lucky he feels to be surrounded by such an outstanding family. Zadie, an outstanding family we have because of you. I can speak for all the grandchildren that he made each and every one of us feel like his favorite. He always let me know that we just get each other. A grandfather and daughter connection that is endearing and special. Moreover, there is simply no better feeling than opening your phone in the middle of a school day to a text from Zadie. Hope you're having a spectacular day. Love, Z. Or just to let you know how much I love you. Have a great day. Love, Z. Zadie, you never let us forget that you are our biggest cheerleader. Not only us, but to anyone you encountered. I can attest that Zadie made just about anybody feel special. Many years ago, I had the great success to go to the Bulls game with Zadie. Someone came over to him and said, "Oh wow, Mr. Bellows, so good to see you." My Zadie gave him a big smile and handshake and said, "You too." As he walked away, he whispered to me, "Laura, no clue. I have no clue who that was." It didn't matter to him. It didn't matter if he knew you or not. He always treated everyone with dignity and kindness. He had a knack for making everyone feel special. I know I'm only 19, but like a lot of my family members, I've never once made a decision without him. Most recently, I was torn between two seminaries. Last year at Sam's Ufrof, my Zadie came to sit next to me. I hadn't even told him that I was between two seminaries, but as always, Zadie just knew. He said to me, "So, have you given more thought about next year?" We talked through all the important factors, but as always, he left the decision up to me. A few days later, I texted him with my final decision. I had zero confidence in my decision, and it was my first big decision. Later in the summer, I had a different and much smaller decision to make, but Zadie, being my #1 fan, texted me, "You'll decide what's best for you. You have a gift for making good decisions." This text became my ultimate piece of chizuk. He instilled in me the confidence I didn't have and the confidence I will need for the rest of my life. When all else fails, I look at my Zadie's life to guide me. By graduating from law school and receiving smicha simultaneously, embodying an accurate representation of a person that lives a life concentrated on Torah Umada. The importance of obtaining an excellent secular education alongside one of Torah is a lifestyle that is essential to my Zadie's being. This is a reality that I want to live, the reality that he has set up for our family. I have no doubt that Zadie's influence will continue to ignite and shine, and his reputation will forever live on. How lucky am I to have had such a beautiful connection and such a remarkable person. And I'm so much holding on to my last Zadie hug.
Superhero to some, confidant to others, mentor to many, legend and greatest of all time to all. Just a few words to describe my dad, but to me, he was always Abba. Family was the most important thing to him, and he always made his children and his grandchildren feel like they were the most important thing in the room. It was the gleam in his eyes or the flicker of his smile. For example, when I was in first grade, I stubbed my toe and went to the office for an ice pack. While in the office, they asked if they could look at my toe, and I said, "No, thank you." I noticed that the principal's door was closed and overheard the people saying there's a board meeting going on in there. Me, being only 6, knew that my dad was somehow in the meeting and I needed to get him out. What was I gonna do? I just went for it, knocked on the door, opened it, and saw lots of eyes peering down at me. And then, as soon as I locked eyes with my Abba, he said, "Let's take a 5-minute break, please," and came out and comforted me with hugs and kisses. This is just one example of my Abba making time for his family no matter what. He was my cheerleader and biggest fan. He was my moral compass. He always knew what to say and when to say it, even if it was hard to hear. He never judged. He would always encourage us to just try harder. To my kids, he was larger than life, always wanting to have a good time, and sometimes when he needed to be serious, they got it. To all of you, his grandchildren, you are his pride and joy. He always wanted to hear about each and every one of you and what you were up to. And I'm sorry he won't be there to officiate any of your weddings or dance at any of your simchas, go to sporting events with you, or just give you a Zadie hug. Ima, he was your Prince Charming, your soulmate, your Shaul. He tried to do everything for you, and now it is up to us to make sure that you are okay, and we will all be taking care of you. Torah and chesed was what he was about, and we all saw that, whether it be through packaged meals of Malchitim before Rosh Hashanah and Pesach, or different organizations and schools he supported. We know that because of him, we will continue in the Jewish traditions. I never thought I would be up here doing this. I don't know how to get through this, but we will somehow do it together as a family. Abba, I know that you are going to watch over us all the time, and like you always say, I don't know why Hashem was so fortunate to us, but we are the fortunate ones to have you in our lives. Thank you, and I will always love you.
הבנים שיבואו לכאן.
פרק ט"ז בתהילים, מכתוב אל אלוהים שומרני ויחוסי סיבו, אומר לאדוני וידונו יותו תקרות סיבו לבו, לקדושים אשר בו ועצמו ואדירי כל חפציבו, יראו עצמו ישמח חרמו ובלסית נצניהם ופידו ובלסוי צפו ישומר ספוסוי, אדוני שנעץ בלתי בפוליסייה ותוביל גוירולי, Amori nostri panami marchatlas chokoloi. Amori chesadu nasheliot soniafti loisi sonichilioi soi. Mimisi adu inoi letekrisoi timini balemoi. Lopena samati biveri kwediane sonichvelo beta. Iloi sazo ignasi gishoi loisi tentasis poli loishotas. לפי מנהג ירושלים, כל יוצאי חלצה, הבנים, הבנות, נכדים ונכדות, לא ילכו אחר המתה.
You guys all go in front. You don't follow. Yeah.
הפח נשבור ואנחנו נמלטנו. והנה אדוני אלוהינו עלינו מעשה ידינו כוננו עלינו מעשה ידינו כוננהו. יושב בסייסר עליון בצל שדי סלינון. אוי מר לאדוני מחסי ומצודו סילו היבטח בוי. כי הוא יצילך מפח יקוש מדבר הבויס. בברוסו יוסך לוך וסחס כנופוב תחסת צינו וסויחירו אמיתוי. לא יסירו מפחד לא ילו מחץ אופיו אימום. מדבר בו יפל יהלוך מכתב ישצורים. יפול מצדכו אלף ורבבו מימינךו. אילךו לא יגוש רק בעינךו סבית. ושילו מס רשועים תראה. כי אתו אדוני מחסי עליון שמתו מעינךו. לא יסעוני לכורו ונגע לא יקרא באוהלך כי מלוכו ויצא ולוך לשמורכו בכל דרוכךו. על כפיים יסעונכו פן תגוי בו אבן רגלךו. על השחל ופסן תדרוך תרמויס כפיר וסנין כי ויחושק ואפלתהו עסק והוא כי יודע שמי. יקרו עיני ועיניו עמו אנוכי בצורה חלצהו וכבדהו. אוירך יומי משביעהו והריהו בשועשי. עקביו בן מהלל לא ימר. יסתכל בשלו ישוד ואורים ועינתו בו לידי אבירו. דם מעין בוסו ולענתו ילך. ולפני מיעתו עושיד ליתן דין וחשבון. מאין בוסו מטיפוס רוחו ולענתו ילך למקום אפור רימו וסוילאו. ולפני מיעתו עושיד ליתן דין וחשבון. לפני מלך מלכי המלוכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. והוא רחום יכפר ובוין ולא ישחיס. וירבו להושיב הפרועי ולא יועיר כל חמוסוי. יש מי שיאמר קדיש? אולי אתה? אולי אתה יכול לומר? כן, אתה חתן, נכון?
כן, חתן.
תגיד קדיש.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. יעמד דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי. וחייכוני והמכוני וחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו. לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דאמרם בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיים וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן.
אמן. יושב בסייסר עליון בצל שדי סלינון יאמר לאדוני מחסי ומצודו סילו יבטח בוי. כי הוא יצילך מפח יקוש מדבר הבויס. בברוסו יוסך לוך וסחס כנופוב תחסת צינו וסויחירו אמיתוי. לא יסירו מפחד לא ילו מחץ אופיו עמום. מדבר בו יפל יהלוך מכתב ישוד צורויים. יפול מצדכו אלף ורבבו מימינךו. אילךו לא יגוש רק בעינךו סבית. ושילו מס רשועים תראה. כי אתו אדוני מחסי עליון שמתו מעינךו. לא יסעוני לכורו ונגע לא יקרב באוהלךו. כי מלוכו ויצא ולוך לשמורכו בכל דרוכךו. על כפיים יסעונכו פן תגוי בו אבן רגלךו. על שחל ופסן תדרוך תרמויס כפיר וסנין. כי ויחושק ואפלתהו עסק והוא כי יודע שמי. יקרו עיני ועיניו עמו אנוכי בצורה חלצהו וכבדהו. אוי מלך יומי והריהו בשלושי. יופי, תודה. הנה, מסכים. זה מחזיק. אביו בן מעללה לא ימר. ולאן אתה ילך למקום אפור עמו וסוילאו, ולפני מי אתה עשית ליתן דין וחשבון, לפני מלך מלכי המלוכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחיס, והרבו להושיב אפוי ולא יועיר כל חמוסוי. קדיש. מה? לא, זה שלנו הטלית, אבל תורידו עם הטלית. סיבלותי, אביסי.
Yiparach, Vishtabach, Vipar, Vikrama, Vinase, Visadar, Visalev, Visalal, Shmet, Kushav, Richu, Leilal, Nikol, Bechasna, Vishirasav, Tishbachasna, Vinachamasav, Damiram, Bialma, Vimrame, Yeshol, Rabba, Mitzrmaya, V'chaim, Tovim, Alena, Valko, Yisrael, Vimrame, Yisrael, Rab, Vuyat, Yisrael, Valko, Yisrael, Vimrame.
שאול בן רב שמואל, כי מלוכו ויצא ולוך לשמורכו בכל דרוכיכו. הבנים והנכדים יכולים לבוא לכאן. והוא רחום יכפר עובוי ולא ישחיס, וירבו להושיב אפוי ולא יועיר כל חמוסוי. והוא רחום יכפר עובוי ולא ישחיס, וירבו להושיב אפוי ולא יועיר כל חמוסוי. והוא רחום יכפר עובוי ולא ישחיס, וירבו להושיב אפוי ולא יועיר כל חמוסוי.
Coming out of the woodwork.
Payback time.
Don't worry about it. Don't go crazy about it.
מכתום לדוד שומרני אל כיחוסי סיבוך אומרת לה אדוני 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 ועושי בנו לכו לקדושים אשר באורץ אימו ואדירי כל חפצי בו ירבו עצמו יסומך עמו
It's not me.
Ça sonne by the time I was a kid, so it sounds like it was in the 60s. It's annoying.
Visi Adonai lenechito mitini balemoi lo peine somati vivayogel koidia besolish koin lo betach ki lo isaz o ignafti li toi lo isiten kasin choli ro ishochas toi di inyo irach chaim soivas moches esponecho neimois beyaminecho netzach
Kadesh Merabah, Yamad Yirach Yerusei, V'amik Malchusei, Chaychon V'mechon, V'chay B'chol Yisrael, V'agalam Zman Karev, V'meramei, Shmei Rabban, Shmei Rabban, V'barach Olam, V'mei Omayah, Yisbarach, V'shtabach, V'spar, V'sromam, V'snasei, V'sadar, V'salev, V'salal, Shmei V'kudishah, V'chud, Le'ela Mikol Berchata B'shirata, Tishbechata B'nachmata, Tamiram B'yama V'imru Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabba Mitshemaya, V'chaim Ahum Aleinu V'alchon Yisrael V'imru Amen. Aseh Shalom V'imah, V'yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'alchon Yisrael V'imru Amen.
Omein Reb Shaul ben Reb Shmuel בשם החברה קדישה, בשם המשפחה, הקרובים, הידידים והמלווים, אנו מבקשים ממך סליחה ומחילה שמחס וחלילה פגענו בכבודך, הן בטהרה, בנשיאת המיטה או בתיקון הקבר, אנא סלח לנו כי אין זו אלא שגגה. החברה קדישה נהגה איתך כמנהגי ירושלים, עיר הקודש. תהיינה מליץ יושר, עבור משפחתך, קרוביך וידידיך, ועבור כל כלל ישראל בכל תפוצות ישראל. וייתן השם ויבולה המוות לנצח, ומחה השם אלוקים דמעה מעל כל פנים, ובא לציון גואל במהרה וימינו. אמן. לך בשלום, ותנוח בשלום, ותעמוד לגורלך לקיץ הימים. כשנצא מחוץ לחלקה באזור הכביש נעשה 2 שורות דברים לניחום אבלים לבנים. את האישה והבנות מנחמים בלי שורה.
לפי הפסק של שמחה כהן קוק, the women, I suggest the women line up in 2 rows to be menachem the women. You can do it on this side over here.
I mean, the back row of your show was legendary. I mean, legendary. I mean, I never felt more love. Mr. Frankel, Mr. Schwartz. I mean, I never felt more love in my life.
כמה מישיבה?
ישיבה הוא בבורסה.
אני שואל אם כמה מישיבה.
גם אין ישיבה בשישה פלוס.
Sorry.
We're trying to get them in.
You know, I'll collect everything from everybody and we'll bring it.
With the women, please come over here. Shael Bellows.
Okay, so I'll check them. If I can look at them.
Your granddaughter was your daughter. Thank you. Okay. Take care of it. If you hear anything, let me know.
And they shake my hand, they got a count of
Which is also pretty crazy.
בואו תתקרבו קצת לכאן. המקום ינחם
המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שרת לירושלים. המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שער לירושלים.